Like we're going to 20,000 and getting through it though. Ultimately, like I'm confident that we're gonna get through 20,000, and it's not gonna be by much instantly. I think that when we get through 20,000, there's gonna be another slump that will pretty much wipe the whole slate of everybody that's been trading near 20,000. Then we'll go through it again, kind of like what happened at 18,000. So we're just hitting 188 right now, which is also an old gold bar. And that 188 does go down to the B point at the bottom there, but I think we're going to give some trouble to the people at it. After all, we've got a lot of people bundled up in there. Half of them are going to be short, and their stops are likely going to be at the 188 200. And like it's funny to me to see that every single person that's shorted it has kind of got a slightly higher high, slightly higher high, slightly higher high, slightly higher high. It's kind of painful to watch like that. At the end of the day, we're trying to develop a squeeze here. The institutions are unsatisfied with how many people they've got to short it, because they know that if they burst the bubble, they're not going to get as much movement as they want. So they're just waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. They're like, maybe if we get it closer to the trend, more people might short it. And then what they're going to do is they're actually going to break the trend. And it's going to be fast and sharp. Now that's going to get chasers, but it's not going to be enough for these people to take profit. So it's going to bundle more chasers together. Like, think about it. If these people shorted, and then we break the trend and it only comes back really sharply over where everyone else's failures were, now more people think the bears are actually in control because it's moving fast, because it's moving sharp, because it's mentally stimulating them. They think that they need to chase that. Little do they know, the people that are really aggressive short traders actually are still stuck. Now, the people that are really aggressive short traders probably have their stops up here. The people that chase it probably are going to put their stops up here. And then we go for all of them at once, and they're all buy orders. Every single person that sells, or sorry, every person that shorts it, puts a buy order up at the top. Whether or not they have a stop or not, their account is their buy order when they lose it. And the margin call. Because you know what's funny? The institutions can see the orders your brokers put up to defend against margin calls. Like you might not even see where they're going to sell you out. But when it hits that threshold where you got no more money, there's an order there. And it's there and you don't get to see it. And that's the funny part about it. And when it gets filled, I mean, the institutions can see that order, but they don't place it on your platform. Like, but your account has a limit. And when that limit is reached, the broker will sell your trade, and that's done by an order that's already sitting in there. Not because they market it as soon as it gets to that point. It literally has an order that is visible to institutions. So if you think you don't have a stop, you really do. It's your account getting blown. And they can see, it might even be colored a different color. It's like, oh, if we get enough people to be at the capitulation point where their accounts are blown and all we have to do is go to that level and they'll be completely eliminated, like different color for margin call orders. Wouldn't be surprised if they had that set up like that. It would be an effective way to do it. And they're all about effective ways to do it. Over leveraging is a common problem for people buying more than what they can handle, and then, you know, little do they know when they've bought so much, there's like actually a little order that's sitting above the range where if it hits that, you get margin called and your account's gone. So that order exists and people can see it whether you do or not. Now this is the sharp fast trend break where it's only letting people off from the middle of the range and they're trying to get people to chase. The trend did break, but it's like, oh, how's that working out for the people that wanted to short it, you know? Is it enough? For that node, something tells me it's not. But it's convincing more people to pile into the node because they think they're missing out. Like, that's a joke. Because look at how many times this trend is broken. Like, we've been from here, broke, 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 broke. 11 high zone that doesn't even reverse. It makes me laugh though, you know. I make videos about days like this a lot, and when I listen to myself explain these things, they're stern, they're difficult to hear, but they're the things you need to hear if you're in the face of danger. And remember where it first got difficult for people, it was when it touched that yellow line. That's when the institutions kind of stopped their order, and everybody else had a chance to build the node. And now they're all in from exactly the 50% retracement of this entire range. Because the institutions understand that this range was used from low to high and from high to low. And when it was used, this was the middle. So do you think they're attracted to here? No, they stopped trading when it got here. and they let everybody else trade. That's what I can see here. And like I said, this is a deterrent. And for the people that haven't been deterred, they are interested in this trend break, and now they're gawking overlapping their peers that have struggled to do the same thing that they're trying to do. And I'm just shaking my head. Foolish. Now they're really worried. They don't like how that feels. I'm like, yeah, that's tough, but reality is a tough teacher, and I've seen enough of it to find it clearly, And it wasn't an easy process. It involves much mental strain, to say the least. But now, with that mental strain being part of the past, you can see how people can go through that when they don't understand it. They don't understand the necessity to break the trend, to make it faster, to overlap all the people just as it was supposed to do. And it's like, where's this strategy? Are you going to try it again tomorrow? Good luck. Because this is what happened now. These are the variables of today, and this is the right way to look at today. And it's not my strategy. It is the way the market wants us to look at it. There's only one way to look at that move, and that it was going to be sharp and fast and overlap all the idiots that literally shorted in there, and that's what we did. This is what the market decided, and the institutions touched that a little bit on the trend break to make this the situation, because they know how people will respond, because they are predictable, because they are individuals, because they did spend 2 weeks on YouTube, because they don't hold themselves accountable, they don't work every day, and they don't do everything correctly. And they work on things they don't understand. They take action and then hope. So I'm like, that puts you in a point where there's no control. Like, if you're worrying or if you're hoping, those are two things that mean you don't have control, because you don't understand what is going to happen to you. You don't understand the next thing that's going to happen, so you can't be a part of it. And I'm like, if you understood that thing that I just explained, you could be a part of it, knowing that this was going to be the result for most of the people. And everybody that shorted it is thinking, oh crap, now. And everybody that got out of their long trade because of the scary trend break that broke and it was sharper and faster than any other move, where are they going to get back in? Oh, people of the node now, are they? Because the institutions will decide where they're allowed to trade from now on out. Or maybe not. Maybe I'm full of shit and it's just luck. But I am not afraid of tomorrow, or next week, or next year, or next month, or afraid of the changes that the market will bring, because I align with the market and I understand the changes before they happen. The institutions make their plans after I do. I make their plans before they do, or it wouldn't be very effective. But the real value is in seeing the institutions' moves before they make them. Before their plan is executed, I can see what the best plan would be for them. So here we have a new trend that is formed. After all, I call this trend the audacity line, because it has the audacity to break over the one that everyone else thinks will. There's a blue line that we just returned back to on the short term, which is relatively insignificant, but it is like that. And of course, the old broken trend is insignificant because it is broken. But being positioned from far away, breaking through it and getting well above it to an equal distance that we were below it on the other side, that's what I'm interested in. I'm interested in taking every bit of movement that we've done underneath it and putting it on top of it. And think about this move right here. Like, imagine you bought puts in there. You're like an options trader, like what most people are told to be lately. Is this good enough? I don't think it's good enough. I think they need it to move more. They're still trapped. The chasers and the people that originally shorted the node. The options traders are waiting there hoping that their decay will catch up with the amount of profit that they demand, but once we hit that red zone, their position will almost certainly be worthless, or worth less. And that's what's coming for them. And they don't even see it. But it happens when the time is right. It doesn't happen because it's like, oh, this is the way the market's going to do it, and it's perfect, and it's going to be clear skies. I'm like, nah. If 1,000 people pile in at this level, we will have to deal with them. They don't understand this because they can show up. We can't tell how many people are willing to trade, but we can tell how many people are in, how many people have stops, how many people plan on buying at levels that it's not even at yet. Like Some people, they're like, oh, I want to go short it up there, so I'm gonna put an order too short up there, and then it blows through 700 points and just takes their money, and they deserve it. Reversing at a point where it hasn't even touched it yet, so not only is it gonna get there, and then it's gonna reverse on command. I mean, you know how fine of a line that is to be able to execute that. I'm like, maybe it'll work once or twice or something like that, but to make that your strategy is something that's like hard to watch. And it's a good way to feel about it, because if you don't feel like that about it, then you might be doing it. And, you know, if you're repulsed to it, like if you have a natural impulse that prevents you from being the wrong way, that's a healthy thing. We have that in life and so on, values and so on. But yeah, the audacity line. Doesn't it have some audacity to be interested in that line over the one that, the big bad trend that everybody wanted to break? All these people up here, they're worried about it. And they don't want to see this line break because it's not a line for the people. It's a line that works against them. Because the institutions can count on the fact that most of the people are positioned the way they expected them to be up here. That's why the trend could break and round up more people and end up, you know, clumping all of their stops together in one big bundle at the top, where the institutions don't want to be caught buying. They might get in trouble for market manipulation if they're caught buying through that point, because they're like, oh, you have such a huge position down here and you're buying all the way up here and it's moving the price forward on top of your already existing positions. That's illegal. Now, you know what's not illegal is, hey everybody, let's make a buyer to here, buyer to there, and make a head and shoulders. Now all the people will perceive that head and shoulders as a negative thing, as a bearish thing. Now we're going to buy through it and stop all of them out. And we're not going to be the ones that are buying at the new high. They will be, because their shorts have stops that are buy orders and they all get triggered at once. And you know what's funny is we might even go for another batch. As soon as we've hit that first chunk, we can pause there and just let it stun them for a second. Let them think about it. Let them kind of be like, oh, do I just get it back right away or something? They get it back right away, we bam, hit them again. They're going to be out of the trading day by 2 o'clock easily. And little do they know, they think Tom, that's just as oblivious across the streets, doing it to them. Only if they could have an edge. No. It's all about the institutions. And this is the way they play the game, and it's going to be different tomorrow. I'm like, try and write it down. You think they're going to use the same strategy to deal with the people tomorrow so they understand? You're like, no, they're not. They're going to use a different strategy, and it's going to be something clear tomorrow. And if today runs into tomorrow, you may not have to do a single thing tomorrow because you're still holding from today. That's the beauty of it. But I will still come in tomorrow and catch the lows, whether I have these ones or not, and show you how to catch the lows of tomorrow and the highs of tomorrow. Exactly as planned every single day, because there is a way you should trade, and it's not my opinion, because there's only one right way to trade at any given time. You can either be right or wrong about it. And if you see from one move to the next every single thing that should happen from the beginning of the day to the end of the day, and you have a reason to believe that it's going to do what it did, there's nothing you should change about it. You know, you're not going to fix what's broke if it ain't broken. You know? And as far as I can see, it is like reading a book. Like if you understand the symbols that make up the words, the letters that make up the words, then you can understand the words. Then you can understand the words that make up the sentences. Then you can understand the communication of the sentence. And that is how we communicate, via visually looking at symbols and understanding the meaning behind them. Now people fail to do that every single day, and that's why they end up in this node, being treated like this. And the majority of the people that are in that node now are in there because they don't want to be. They're in there because they have to be. They're in there because they're waiting for something to happen to them. That's not control. You know, waiting for something to hit you in the face is not control. That's where they made their action. The market turned around and said, this is how I move when you respond to me like that. And it gave them nothing but a tough time. So I'm like, you know, how many tough times, like, do you think you'll remember this 17 days from now? I'm like, no. How many other consolidations just like this one will you have to survive through to make it 17 days from now? And if you can't make it through this one, how will you make it through other ones? You know, it's an important question. Because there's a lot to think about, clearly, in the consolidation. And look at how crappy the trend's breaking. It's not like it's an effective place for institution to make money, but at the end of the day, it's painful for the people that wanted it to go down. You know, watching this happen and watching more action at that red line where everyone decided to make their trade from, the most people in this node that traded in the node didn't even get the best price of it. Like, that is the worst price of the entire node. Like, you're not even buying low, you're not even selling high, you're right in the middle, waiting for the market to tell you what's gonna happen to you. You can feel fear. You can feel like, oh, what's gonna happen to me? Because I don't know what I'm doing from there. That's what that level is for. Most people in there are saying that. Or else, why didn't it move for them? Why are all of the long traders and all of the short traders made wrong here? All of them are made to wait like a jail cell. Because, and it's not like a jail cell, because it's like they there's like a little bit of an egg on the end of it. Like, you wait through this environment, we place you in this environment, and then we decide what happens to you. Could be bad though. And I mean, like, that creates fear. Like, oh, it could be bad. And I'm sitting here waiting for something that might be bad to happen to me. I'm like, yeah, it's because, you know, because it is there and that is the time that people have to trade, then they choose to trade there. You know, if they had the time to wait for every single best opportunity, they would never choose to trade here. You know, if you could click next, 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 next on the candles and see what happens next, everybody would be going next, 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 next through these candles. Everybody would be like, okay, when does it stop? Give me the next movement. Next, 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 next. But we can't do that because time goes on. This consolidation will end like every other one, I must say. Like, did you know that every other consolidation has ended to bring us to this one? And that just like those, no matter how big they were when they ended, you know, even the biggest consolidation the market's ever seen has ended. Do you feel like it's low? Do you think a lot of people are trying to buy low, sell high in there? Or do you think most of them think it's going to come down because it overextended to the upside? And they're all just waiting and waiting and waiting. But yeah, hell of a consolidation. Most people do not make it through them. So I'm like, well, if you do, then you understand something that most people cannot fight it through because of their lack of discipline, patience, time, and integrity. You know, it's like, what does it take to make it through this area when it doesn't provide mental stimulation for a prolonged period of time? And all we have to do is focus on the small variables that don't pay much to be involved with them. You know, you have to have the discipline to say, hey, this is not a good time for me, and I'm not going to just trade for the sake of trading. But I know this time will end, and I know it will provide value to those that have the ability to wait through it. Because what do you think the next thing to happen is when we're done a shitty consolidation like this? Like, when it's moving so badly that it could hardly even move worse. It's just like the maximum worst movement, like literally sideways as can be. What do you think's the next thing to happen? Well, if it goes more sideways, this sideways never ended, so it's still doing the same thing. So what's the next thing that can be changed? Well, we increase volatility, and the people that make it to the end get to see what that's like. And there's no other way it's ever been. At the end of every single consolidation that we've ever had, volatility has increased enough to get us out of the consolidation, and that is the law behind it. Or else we would still be in the consolidation that didn't get us out. You know, but how many consolidations ended last year? 3,000? 5,000? How many ended since the Great Depression? 300,000? 500,000? And all of them amounted to get us to a new high. Every single downtrend we ever had in the history of mankind, thousands of them on the short term, thousands of them on the long term, all ended to get us back to the all-time high. Every single one of those downtrends was not a friend for long. And it's like, people here are saying like trend is your friend, and they think, you know, because it sounds nice and other people are saying it, they conform to it, so it must be the right way. And I'm like, ew, you didn't experience it at all, you like the way it sounds, and now you go around saying it and you don't even understand it. I'm like, I have been through many trends, and I understand them, and I do not think they are your friends. I'm against that, 100%. Like, I'm against most of your trading books, because they don't work for you. Like, that's the reality of it. And I see the way that it does work, and I see it's within the best interest of the people with all the money to keep those books on your shelf. They know exactly what the information is, and if it changes, then guess who's going to know about it? The institutions. And they'll change to make sure that it doesn't work. And that's the composite man theory. Because if the people have the upper hand, then who loses it? The institutions.